Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of Healthy Waves, the podcast where we dive deep into various topics with the help of expert guests and their valuable insights. So, I'm your host, Avik, and today we are thrilled to explore the journey of the personal growth, finding the purpose, life transformation, and developing the emotional granularity. So, we have two of our extremely talented guests, Jeremy and Kim. So, welcome to the show.
Cool. Thanks,
Thank
Avi.
you.
Lovely, lovely. So, before we start delving into the discussions, I would love to mention this to all of our listeners that I'll definitely love to introduce Jeremy and Kim to all of you. So, the guest who is I'd love to start with Jeremy. So he is someone who has truly exemplifies the power of transformation, like as a dynamic and accomplished two times best-selling author and the entrepreneur. So as a renowned digital marketing consultant and inspiring keynote speaker, he has dedicated his career to helping individuals and the organizations as well to maximize their talent and the purpose. So with over like 20 years of experience in the digital marketing, uh, he's fun, laid back style, and engaging speaking manner make him a sort of the expert in the industry, definitely. So his latest book, Finding Your Edge, so how to unlock your talent and the purpose, so has definitely inspired countless of individuals to align their careers with their true purpose. So welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Cool. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Great. And on the other hand, we have an extremely talented guest, Kim Cotton. So I would love to introduce Kim is someone who brings a unique perspective on emotional management and the personal development. So her life journey has been marked by significant life events that led her to a profound understanding of the emotions. So, inspired by the book, How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain, she has developed a unique approach to emotional management using the concept from cooking and dining. So her new book, Yucky Yummy Savory Sweet, uh, Understanding the Flavors of the Emotions, aims to help the readers identify and manage their emotions effectively. So her insights are invaluable for the leaders, parents, partners, and anyone who is looking to improve their emotional intelligence. So today we will be discussing like how to unlock the personal growth and find the purpose, transform your life, and develop a more defined understanding of your emotion. So welcome to the show again, Kim.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Lovely, lovely. So, Jeremy and Kim, as the topic today is very, very great and the important. So, I'll start with Jeremy. Like, if you can share like a bit about your journey, how you discovered your purpose in the life.
Okay. Sure. Well, I guess it starts with following a dream. I'm from Oklahoma City originally. And when I was 20 years old, a friend of mine and me decided we were going to move to Atlanta and try to pursue the music industry. And, went out there, performed, finished school, worked a 9 to 5, and then my 5 to 9 was music. So we, had studio equipment in our apartment and everything. And long story short, basically got towards the end of my 20s and things just weren't really panning out how I thought they would. And so everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing in life and in the world was really something that kind of was sunsetting. So I was trying to figure out what to do next. So doing a lot of work on myself, went back to school, got a coach for myself, did a lot of reading, a lot of reflecting about what skills I did pick up and what I learned about myself through that journey with music, and started to go to work. And really, my book kind of details the different models and frameworks that I put together that help me really tap into my talents and my passions and my purpose. And, at the end of all of it, it's now really my message to help other people who are going through a transitional period of time to have the tools, because a lot of times we don't have the tools readily available, or we don't know where to get them, to begin that life transformation.
Understood. Understood. So, coming to Kim, if you can also share your approach to the emotion management, like if you can share like how understanding the emotions has been a pivotal in your personal growth.
Yes, and I loved Jeremy's share because we all are on this different path and we find these tools, and I think it's so amazing to have this ability to share them, right? Like he's very passionate and so am I. And it's based on also my experience, right? I went through a lot in my younger years, and I won't go into all the details, but it was a divorce that said I can't take this anymore. Emotionally, uh, I was just at my end, and I literally was laying on my condo floor saying, what am I going to do? And when I got up, I went on this journey to understand my feelings better, to understand where it went wrong, because in my background, I'm a project manager. I implement systems. And so I said, I'm a failed project. So how can I make this better? And so in this process of trying to discover more about me, more about how we work, because I'm really into how things work, I read this book, as you mentioned in the intro, How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain. And it was just like, boom, um, this is amazing. And the fact is that we are responsible for our emotions. Like we like to think that other people create them, but we create our emotional responses. And that is comprised of some things that are very similar, like how I put it together is using things that make sense to us. Like, for instance, we've got ingredients in a recipe. Well, our ingredients of our emotions is our perceptions. And what do we use to cook? When we put it all together, like, how do we know how to put it all together? Well, recipes, right? Like that's what we do, is we follow a recipe. And so does our brain. It's using our past experiences. And so it put together to me a process, and I love repeatable processes. And so I share that with people to help them to understand how they can connect better to their emotions, and hopefully get better at identifying them, because that's half the battle. And I think Jeremy can speak to that too, is he noticed that in himself and it led him on his journey.
Mhm.
That's really lovely. Yeah. So so now to Jeremy, like finding the purpose and the life transformation is very, very important. So here comes your book, which is Finding Your Edge. So
Mhm.
which focuses on unlocking the talent and the purpose. So uh, what are some of the steps like individuals can take to start
Mhm.
finding their purpose?
Yeah. Well, EDGE in itself is an acronym, and I mean, it has multiple meanings. And the way I usually tee it off and explain it is just level setting. Like an edge is the end of one thing and the beginning of another thing. So, and that's really the people who are in that midst of life transformation. Like that's where they are. Like they're trying to leave behind or transfer out of this life that they've had, whether it's complacency or unsatisfaction or just not really knowing who they are, and then transferring and transforming into this life that you are creating for yourself based on being purpose driven. So the EDGE acronym is actually the model itself, and it's eliminate distractions, discover yourself, generate goals, and enact discipline. And it's really like a step by step process. And
Mhm.
what's cool is because Kim and I, we didn't know we were on here together today, but this is going to be such an amazing convo because
Yeah.
I think a lot of the work that she does actually is right in line with that discover yourself piece. And I always say, like, the first place to start when you're trying to do really deep life work is like eliminating distractions. So, we can't really begin to do that work on ourselves if we're still caught up like in these devices, in food, TV, news, whatever your vices are. which is interesting that a device has the word vice in it. It's still like a vice. I just thought of that just now. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing. I'll have to use that somewhere. But it's these distractions that really keep us from doing the work on ourselves. So that's the first step, just getting rid of those, or at least managing those in a healthy way where you can start to do the work. And then once you discover yourself, you do, whether it's coaching, counseling, some of the things I went through, assessments. Sounds like Kim's got a great resource to help you do some work on yourself, tap into feelings, emotions. You now come from a better place where you know yourself better. So the goals that you set, which is like the next framework, you're coming not from a place of not being informed about yourself. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what you're made of, and you create goals that are solid and more in line with who you are as a person. And then that discipline piece is like, hey, we've got our goals. Now let's go to work, because you can do all the goals, do all the work on yourself. But if you're not doing anything consistently about it, then you've really just done a lot of work for nothing, just really for yourself, but not really getting you out of the reason that you started the work in the first place.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I
Yeah.
just want to say I can't agree more with Jeremy in that I think what our biggest journey here on this earth, is to know ourselves,
Mm,
and things get in the way, but our ability to connect to our feelings is really essential. And what I discovered was something that I had never known before, is that we have a sensory system. I didn't really have a label for it. I knew it, but we have
mm,
a sensory system inside of our body, and it's called interoception. And that's
mm,
how we connect to our feelings, whether it's to, have to eat or go to sleep because our interoceptive system is talking to us, or how we feel. And so when we dampen our ability to connect to that system, we dampen our ability to feel all kinds of things. It's a one to see up, seeing, that's it. It's down. You see much less. So I can't agree with him more about being able to connect to yourself and to learn more about yourself and to find your joy, find your passion, because that's what's leading you, I believe, on this life, to find who you are and your purpose. Because us is unique. There's not one of you, either one of you or another one of anybody else. And I think that's one of the greatest joys in life, is
yeah.
knowing that and finding it, discovering yourself.
Hmm.
Understood. So definitely, so everyone has perspective. So for sure. So also, like, coming back to Kim, like, uh, about your book, Yucky, Yummy, Savory, Sweet. So understanding the flavors of the emotion. So uh, the the unique approach which helps individuals and understand and manage their emotions for better life outcomes. So what do you think? Like, what key steps, or maybe individuals can take uh, towards their finding the purpose or the emotions? Yeah.
Yes. So I would say that it's designed to help people who are uncomfortable with emotions. And that's why I use food. And this sensory system that we have, interoception, it's much similar. I should say it's very similar to flavor, because flavor is a combination of multiple sensory systems. As we know from COVID, if you lose your sense of smell, then you are not going to taste your food the same way. But also, how we feel about our food can influence how we taste it, or how it tastes to us. So it's not just one sensory system that goes into flavor, it's multiple. And the same is true of our emotions. We have all of these sensory systems that is used and combined to make up how we respond. And so your brain is constantly taking in this data and saying, okay, well, what do I do with it? And that's how it predicts. And when I say that, I'm very serious. It predicts what we see, what we hear, what we experience, and that includes our feelings. So the whole idea is to get closer to our feelings, and how we taste our emotions is by connecting to that system inside, that sensory system that tells us how we feel. And the better we are at identifying it and distinguishing it from other feelings. I like to use the example of vanilla ice cream. You can get 3 different tubs of vanilla ice cream, and they all have very similar ingredients, right? Vanilla, ice cream, sugar, or cream rather, and maybe a couple other things off the top of my head, salt, I know for sure. But they all have the same ingredients, but each one has a different flavor if you really examine it, because they're unique in that one might have more vanilla, one might have better quality ingredients, one might not. And if we can learn to distinguish our emotions similarly, then that's what helps us to reach what Jeremy's talking about, that finding out what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, filtering, giving your brain more to filter on as these perceptive ingredients come in and create our emotional experiences.
Understood. Understood. So, so for emotional granularity, so I'll come to Jeremy. Like, in your experience, how does developing a deeper understanding of someone's emotions, or deeper understanding of anyone's emotions,
Mhm.
contribute to the personal and the professional growth? What do you
Mm.
think?
Yeah, well, I think they go hand in hand. I think we oftentimes separate personal and professional. And actually, I put a post out last week about this, how we're still the same human being, like whether you
Mm,
are clocking in 9 to 5 or coming home. So if you're only growing in one area, like, and you're not growing in another, like, to me, that doesn't make sense, because it's a congruent. You are you, and your skill sets are you. You're taking yourself to work. You're bringing yourself home. So it's like what I focus on is like showing up as who you are wherever you are. Let's not delineate who we are at work and who we are at home. Like, let's just be who we are,
mm,
because otherwise I think you will be stifled emotionally. You'll be stifled. But getting back to like the granularity, why is it important, is like, when you know about yourself, when you know kind of those ingredients that Kim's talking about, like you kind of have more grace for yourself and more knowledge of yourself. Like, as I was going through some of the personal and self discovery myself, and things that were revealed to me, like characteristics, things that I knew about myself but couldn't really assign a label to it. And I think having some labels that I was able to say, oh, that's me. Like, I understand myself better now. And it helps you to understand your strengths, your limitations. And it also like helps you just have some grace for yourself. Whereas we can get so caught up in, seeing what everybody else has and feeling like, oh, well, they have these gifts and I don't have them. But when you do the work on yourself, you're like, wow, these are the gifts that I have. And I'm cool with that. Like, I don't need their gifts. Like, let them do them, and be who they are. And maybe we can complement each other somehow. But here's what I'm good at. Here's what my talents are. And now that I know that, because I knew it, but it's kind of like we're in the skin that we're in. So we don't always understand that. I liken it to like back in the days, if like you're going to school and your parents measure you on the first day of school, and then they measure you on the last day of school, and you've grown, but you don't really see the growth because you're around them every single day. So when we're in the skin that we're in every single day, we don't see the growth. But when you do that work on yourself, the discovery, and you're aware of these characteristics, it's like, that opened me up to something that I never knew existed. So now that I know this, I can be accountable to it, and I can move forward with certainly knowledge of who I am as I create my journey from here.
understood.
Yeah, if I
So,
could just, can I
yeah,
just
please,
add to,
please.
because what he's talking about
Yeah.
is awareness, and
Mhm.
creating
Mm,
experiences that develop your awareness. It's kind of like when you well, I'll just say my own experience when I
Mhm.
was on this thing about Teslas. And so my husband and I drove a Tesla, and we're like, oh my gosh, we loved this car. It was just so much fun to drive.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I saw Teslas everywhere. They were
Mhm.
always there. I just didn't notice them.
Yeah.
So it's about developing your awareness and cultivating it to where you want it to be. So as Jeremy was saying, you can cultivate it to be looking at everybody else and what they have and what you don't, or you can take awareness in a more positive direction. But it's developing that self-awareness and awareness of others is what we're talking about, and creating that experience.
Mhm.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. So Jeremy, you're saying something. Yeah.
No, no, no. You mean just now? No, I was just nodding and agreeing with what she's saying.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Understood. So, Kim, like, what according to you are some of the practical steps that individuals can take to develop their uh, emotional granularity?
First of all, if you think about how you feel inside, like when you're hot inside, think of it as being like a pepper. And 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 is the situation really, because we predict. I remember I was just talking about a predictive brain, and maybe take a second taste. And when I say that, take a second taste, because if you saw a pepper and you thought it was going to be hot, you take a taste again and they're like, oh, wait, maybe it's not as hot, because it's more mindful at that point. So, in situations where you're feeling some internal heat, maybe take a second, quote unquote, bite, and and step back and be aware of what's going on, because your brain has filtered the ingredients. We experience what we expect. And when you allow yourself in that moment to stop, take another taste by looking at what's going on, what other ingredients are you missing that might be creating your emotional experience or altering your emotional experience, so that it might not be as spicy, it might not be as hot. So that's my biggest encouragement, is to notice your feeling and then check in to see if it's true by taking that second taste to notice like what's going on around you, and develop, which I think is a key theme here, awareness.
Mhm.
Got it. Got it. So, again, coming back to Jeremy, like, what according to you are some of the common challenges that people face when trying to find their purpose? What do you think?
Yeah, I think common challenges are really first just getting started and staying committed to the journey. And I think a lot of people will start something, especially work, when they know it's going to benefit them, but they fall back into patterns. And I think it's trying to break out of any cycle. And that's why I talk about how eliminating distractions is so important. It's like getting over that main hump is the main hurdle to really do it, and having the consistency. And I think we have so much dialogue going on in our head. So let's say we do get rid of some of these
Yeah.
distractions and we start the work. Sometimes we question our self-worth or our confidence, and we fight these battles in our heads, or we are consumed with maybe a fear or worry or anxiety or things that it's like we kind of stop our journey ourselves before anything external can stop it. So we can be our own worst enemy whenever you're trying to do work of, discovering yourself and really doing life transformation. It's nothing that anybody said to you or did to you in the moment.
Mhm.
We can reflect on maybe trauma that we had as a child, or experiences, or maybe we've tried something before and it didn't work. So this voice in our head is saying, well, that didn't work, so this probably isn't going to work either. But just having the fortitude to know that you woke up today, you're still here, your mission is not over. So keep doing the work, because we know what life was like before this. And if you want that life to continue, then continue doing the things that you were doing beforehand. But believing in yourself, believing that this work that you're doing is actually going to make a change, which it will, like that's what you have to hold on to, and have this ability to block out the noise.
Understood. Understood. So, coming back to Kim on the same. So, what according to you, do you think, how can someone manage their emotions effectively during uh, challenging times or maybe the setbacks? So, what do you think?
Well, I think it's true with what Jeremy was just talking about, and these challenging setbacks is managing fear. So fear, even in the dictionary, can be real or imagined. And we can create fears that don't exist. We worry about so many things, and practically none of them happen. They've had people who are uh, have anxiety disorders, and they are told, track your anxieties, your fears for a month, and maybe 7% of them happen. So we have this habit of predicting the future poorly. So this goes back to trying to stay present and manage those fears. And I encourage people to become more curious. And sometimes a step between that is just to be cautious. So if you think about someone who needs to jump in the pool and they're like, "Oh, that water looks cold, la 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 la," and they just dip their toe in, and they're like, "Oh, okay, not so bad." And then you go to the first step and maybe to the second step and then get you up to your waist. If you're like me, it takes me a while to get to the shoulders and get down in my head. Sometimes I just jump right in. But the point is not letting your fears slow you down, because the majority of the time, they're completely unwarranted.
Hmm.
So go from fear to cautious to curious.
Yeah. And I'll say
Understand.
that, and I'll add on to that too,
Yay.
because it makes me think about like my children, for example. They're all like in their 20s and have, start young adults starting their lives. And there's a lot of things that they're having to do now that they've never had to do before. It was either something I would help them with or do for them. So things like putting together furniture. Like I was always the one helping to put together furniture. And, one of my daughters recently wanted some help. She's in a different state. And so we were trying to find help. And I was like, you can do this. Like, just follow the directions. You got it. But if not, we'll find someone that can help. And so, ultimately she tried to do it and she was able to put the furniture together. But it was like this fear of not being able to do it or not doing it right. And to me, it's like just such a metaphor. It's like we put limitations in our mind, maybe of what we think that experience will be or how we think it's not going to work, so we don't even attempt it. But it's like if you just attempt it and step out there and do it, like you don't know what's possible. But I can tell you this without her telling me, I know from just putting together that furniture, like she's unlocked a whole level of confidence about what she is able to do because now she's experienced it. But if she never had that experience of doing it, she would still have that limitation. So you have to take those chances. You have to take those tastes and you have to step out and you have to see what that's actually going to be like because you're going to surprise yourself of what your abilities really are and not what the voice in your head keeps telling you you're not.
Yeah.
Understand. So from this, definitely one more thing I'm getting, like, if both of you can share one success story where uh, I mean, someone was able to unlock their potential, transform their life, then manage their emotions effectively through your guidance. So,
Mhm. I mean, I coach people now, so I'm actually in the process of doing that. I can tell you with some of the teams that I've worked with, because I've done team
okay.
coaching as well, like executive coaching with teams, and I can tell you the gratitude that people have expressed just from guiding them through different storms that they've encountered as a work group, coming into a group.
Mhm.
Where people are dealing with different unique personalities. Some are very headstrong, some are reserved. Um, and managing through how we're all going to land on the same page. Let's create some common goals and let's continue this work. And this is a program that I was working with this group for about a year and a half. And on the other side of it, it's like this team was excelling and I got messages saying, man, we could not have done this without just your guidance. And really, like, as coaching, you're not telling people what to do, you're really just like putting everybody together, being objective about who they are, providing a different perspective, but really bringing the best out of them, asking them the questions that they're answering themselves, and kind of putting bumpers in conversations and behaviors.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that is like, you see how we can function better as a team and how we can progress. And on the other side of it, we're actually better human beings as well, because we've learned that in this group setting, when we have a common goal and we all respect each other, we know our roles, like we can all excel better. So that would be, I guess, one example of some work I've done.
Understood. Thanks for sharing. So, Kim,
Yep.
if you can share one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of just one. I think that mostly it's that the insight that they start to get of themselves. And there's an exercise that I have in the book and that I'll take people through. And I mean, it's not a unique one to me, but it's a very uh, good exercise for you to understand the recipes that are in your head. And it's what has to happen for you to feel, and then you pick the emotion. And you start to uncover, like, oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't go into your past. It's not going to say, I want to take this journey down to when you were 5 years old and what did it feel like to have this happen. It's more in the present moment, like what has to happen for you to feel love? What has to happen for you to get angry? And then when you go down that list and say over and over, like, okay, what else has to happen for you to feel angry? What else has to happen? And when you take this balance of the emotions that you want to feel more of and the emotions that you want to feel less of, and you look at what comes out, and something different can come out at a different day. It's all what the body wants to talk to you about at this given time. And you learn, and what does that do? That gives you that insight as the situation comes about. It's like, wait, no, that's a recipe I'm cooking up I don't want to cook anymore. And you start to notice it more in your life, just like I talked about noticing the Tesla. And so I feel like that's a very powerful tool for people to kind of take a little dip into what their emotional experiences are based on.
Understood. Understood. Thanks for sharing, Kim. So, one more thing, like to both of you. So, what advice do you have for someone who feels stuck and is struggling to find their purpose and manage their emotions? So, yeah.
Well, I would say get my book, because that's who I designed my book for, because that's exactly where I was and feeling stuck. And it's the reason I wrote the book. It's the exercise that I have in the book. There's a lot of journal questions that you can write about as well to get to that discovery. It has a whole model that you can follow. But also just know, like, you're not alone. Like, gosh, this book took me 10 years to write. And over that course of 10 years talking to people about the premise of my book, there were so many people that said, wow, I need that. Like, I need that book. Like, that's where I am right now. So a lot of times we think we're like this anomaly, that we're the only people that feel this way or think this way. But man, there's more people that are like you than probably are different from you, that have a similar mindset. There's a lot of people who aren't necessarily happy with where they are in life. It doesn't mean they're sad or depressed, though, some of them are. It just means like they want more, they long for more, they haven't tapped into who they are, what their purpose is, and they just don't really know where to start or what to do. So first thing, grab my book, grab Kim's book, like learn about yourself and start doing the work.
Yeah,
Lovely. Lovely.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, and I want to get Jeremy's book now. So we learn different things and we learn different aspects of ourselves. Just like I always go back to cooking because there's how many different ways and styles. Um, Lots and lots and lots and lots of different culture. And the more experience that you bring in, whether it's from me or from Jeremy or from both of us, which I would say, absorb as much as you can to get the tools that resonate with you, because there's going to be things that resonate with you more than others. And if it feels good, follow it, because that's telling you something that, okay, I like what Jeremy said about this. I like this exercise. So I'm going to do this because it makes sense for me. And I think that's truly key, is keep looking to find what feels right for you, and then follow it till it doesn't, and then find the next thing that feels good to you, and keep developing that connection to that feeling, because that's where it's at. As much as people think that their decisions are logically based, underlying every decision is an emotion, because we're going to still go with what feels right in the end, no matter how our logic is going to be based on our feeling, no matter what. So the more that you can develop yourself emotionally and know yourself, the better decisions you're going to make. And I think the more satisfying life you're going to have.
Cool.
That's
And
really
can
lovely.
I ask a question
Oh,
also
please,
for
please.
Kim? Because you're talking about
Oh,
recipes, so you must have like some skills in the kitchen because you based the whole premise on recipes. So what is like your go-to recipe or
for
like your best for anything? If you're like this is my best recipe. Every time I make it, everybody loves it.
Okay. My potato salad, I make
Okay.
a potato salad that everybody goes crazy for. I have
Yeah.
yet to find anyone who doesn't go, "Oh my god, this is the best potato salad."
Yeah.
And it's I will tell you, it is not I have the ingredients, but it's definitely like a touch thing. Like I
Yeah,
can
like
just
all
feel
up
when it's
here.
right. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I can tell you all the ingredients, but what
Right,
makes it
right.
right? And then there's one other thing that I put in my all my food, and that's love. And I think
Okay.
everybody tastes that. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Uh,
I think that I used food and recipes just to be really clear. Yeah, I
yeah.
am a foodie. My husband and I are foodies, but
Mhm,
it's very relatable. And
mhm,
I was just talking to another therapist who says, yeah, she'll use like, what are you noticing in the food? And if you
mhm.
when you can start to notice detail in food, then you can start to notice like how it feels when it's going down. And so that's really why I picked it, but it was just
Yeah.
really easy because um, I
It's
I like food.
relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so and consumable, pun
Yes, yes.
intended.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
love it.
Thanks for that
Great,
question, Jeremy.
Yeah.
great, lovely. So, in short, to both of you, like if you can share what are the key takeaways that you would like our listeners to remember when it comes to personal growth, finding purpose, and managing the emotions.
Yeah, I say for me, it's like if there's something stirring in you where you feel like you haven't found your purpose or you want to do this work, like my advice, like just answer that. It's like a calling that you have that you're not answering. And I do believe, like with all my heart, once you go down this path, like you can have a life of joy. It doesn't mean life will be easy, and it doesn't mean it's going to be happy every single day, but the place that you'll be in once you do that work, like you'll have fulfillment and you'll be focused on, really what makes you tick, and it'll help you say yes to a lot of things that maybe you wouldn't have before, and it'll have you say no to a lot of things that maybe you would have said yes for. So you had like a lot of clarity, and it unleashes joy in your life when you start this path. So it's well worth it. Go after it. Like we only live one time and no day is given. For the three of us here on this screen right now, we don't know what the evening holds or tomorrow holds, but we're here today. So while we're here, like let's make the most of it. And that's what I want for people is really just find out who you are, live that purpose, and you will have zero regrets when your time here is done.
Lovely. So, Kim,
Mine is feelings aren't facts, and we exist in a world of prediction. And so, if your experiences aren't what you want them to be, just understand that we experience what we expect to happen. And this is true of food. This is true of you know everything. Our brain lives in a predictive model. So if you want to have a different outcome, a different experience, that's yours to control. It's not anyone else's. And that by following this path of self discovery or following this path of getting to connect to your emotions or understanding your motivations, and it doesn't It doesn't matter what it is, it has to start with you.
That's lovely. Great. So that's all for today's episode on Healthy Mind and Healthy Life with the Healthy Babes, dear listeners. So a huge thank you to our guests, Jeremy and Kim, for sharing their incredible insights and the experiences on personal growth, finding the purpose, and life transformations, and at the same time developing the emotional granularity. So I hope that all of you have found this conversation as inspiring and enlightening as I did. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, because your feedback helps us to continue bring you more uh, valuable content, inspiring stories with the expert guests. So for more information about our guests, be sure to check out the Jeremy's book and Kim's book. So Jeremy's book, which is Finding Your Edge: How to Unlock Your Talent and Purpose, and at the same time, Kim's book is Yucky Yummy Savory Sweet: Understanding the Flavors of Emotions. So I'll put the links into the show notes so that it will be much easier for all of you to reach out to them. And with this, thank you so much for being a part of Healthy Waves community. And until next time, I'm your host Avik, signing off, and at the same time reminding you to prioritize your well-being and live your best life. So thank you so much.